The hour being 6 p.m. and the meeting duly posted, we will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And announcements right now. Sean will do the first.
I just want to,
Whatever.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to recognize that on Sunday, there was a Purple Heart Award ceremony in Whitensville. A resident of Whitensville, Specialist Carl Alves, was wounded in action, and he received the Purple Heart yesterday, I think it was. So I just want to, I know he's not from Uxbridge, but he's local. So we certainly appreciate his service and the sacrifice that he made, as we do for all our service members. So I just kind of want to make sure everybody, so if you know anybody named Specialist Carl Alves, make sure you congratulate him and shake his hand, because he sacrificed quite a lot to his own personal injury. So that's all I want to say.
The only announcement I have is that Robert Quinn died. He was a former Speaker of the House and Attorney General. He was the author of the Quinn Bill, which gave the police the funds to encourage them to go back to school and get qualified with degrees. It's too bad that bill has since been done away with due to the expenses that we're living under. But he was a good man. Okay, and next, Citizens Forum. Mike, sorry. Lost my head.
Michael Baril, 143 West Street. Basically, I'll just make this brief. I just wanted to just follow up regarding a conversation that Sean and I had regarding a matter. Basically, I had expressed an issue with Sean that I guess what I'm trying to say is, there have been some matters in town that I've been trying to talk to the selectmen about, and I was starting to feel not the warm and fuzzy feeling anymore, that certain people were ignoring me, that things weren't exactly being done. So Sean and I had a discussion maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I've been busy with things. And so what Sean and I discussed was basically what I just mentioned, that that basically I had, and this has nothing to do with my lawsuit, these are totally separate things, and that I was trying to bring some town matters, separate matters, to all of the 5 selectmen. I've tried communicating with Jen, I've tried communicating with Joe, I've communicated with Lance. Lance and I met one time to go over some stuff, and basically things haven't been going well, and I'm getting very frustrated and feel like I'm being ignored on purpose. So Sean had asked me to bring this to the attention of the board and kind of get to the bottom of what's going on. I know, and I will be nice to you guys not to read this letter that you all got a copy of, that Sean forwarded to you in your email.
Excuse me.
So
When was that forwarded to us? I don't.
the letter is dated August 30, 2013.
August.
Can I see it, Michael?
Okay.
Yes.
Can we pass it around?
I don't remember.
I only bought one copy.
I'll give it back.
So me as an individual in this town, basically, and I'm just being, this is my personal opinion, is I feel that I'm being failed by the Board of Selectmen, because I have struggled, and I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but I have struggled with the previous 5 Board of Selectmen, which included Bruce, Carey, and so forth, and Mr. Bagdasarian. And then Jay Cahill was here. I've been, talking to Tim Rice once in a while, 2 or 3 months down the road or whatever. And the feedback I've had said, yes, that's something. The citizens should look into that, and nothing happens. And some of these things that I brought to this current board's attention, or trying to bring to this board's attention, have been brought, a year ago, 2 years ago, and these issues were never solved. So I don't know if I'm being ignored because of that letter, But Sean and I had a discussion, and we discussed it, and he said, no, that is not what I instructed the Board of Selectmen. If you have a separate matter, the Board of Selectmen are supposed to talk to you. And I said, well, why aren't they talking to me? And he said, well, you're talking about that sensitive matter? And I said, no. I says, so I'm at wit's end, and I'm, you know, so Sean, I vented my frustration to Sean, and Sean says, well, you need to talk to the board, and that's why I'm here, so I don't know if, so I was just told that that was emailed to all 5 of you. I don't know if it's true, maybe it wasn't, but if it was, you're either ignoring me for something to do with that letter, or you're just ignoring me because you don't want to talk to me, and that's not right. So, what do you have to say? I'd like to hear it.
Can I go, Chair? For myself?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'll talk to you anytime, right here in this public forum, Michael.
Yeah.
You've got the platform, Citizens Forum. When you and I talked, I'd been a selectman for about 3 days.
oh, I understand that, no,
Yep.
absolutely, yeah,
I really haven't gotten any better at it, but
yeah,
I'll talk to you at any time. But for my benefit and for everyone else's benefit, in a public forum, it's on TV, and everybody knows what's said.
right,
I don't say anything wrong, or if I do, whatever, it's on tape. You know what I mean?
right, no, I understand, Sean.
Okay,
Yeah.
so fire away, as far as I'm concerned, on
Yep.
that, any matters that you have, other than, because you're right, you are a taxpayer up here, it's your floor, as far as I'm concerned. That's my
Right,
piece.
and just,
Well, I certainly wouldn't ignore you, but I would, if we're gonna discuss matters, and you
Right.
and I would only discuss matters in, of this nature.
Right.
In a forum like this.
right, okay. And then the only other thing to partially answer your question is as far as I know, I have submitted agenda requests. I don't know where they've gone, because that's the other part why I'm confusing, because I understand. And in me communicating with Sean and Tracy, I said, okay, well, if you feel that this needs to be addressed with the board, why not put me on the agenda to discuss it? And it's been a year later, and not one thing has been discussed. And not any of these problems of these other scope of problems, and I brought some additional items to your concern, and you were like, you know, wow, okay, oh geez, I didn't know that, well, we need to do something. Well, you know, here it is a year later, nothing's been done, so, you know, I'll be nice not to mention what the topics are, but Lance, you have a few ideas, Tim has a few ideas what they are. And Joe, I've sent 5, 10 emails to Joe, I've sent emails to Jen Modica, and no answer. So I feel like I'm not knocking any of you, but all I do is I come to Sean, and Sean says, well, what do you want me to do? I'm the town manager, you need to talk to the selectmen. Well, I'm trying, but it's going nowhere. And, you know, here it is a year later, and Jen's been here since last May, and I haven't, other than I talked to you one time after the meeting, that was it. And I said, did you get my email? And you said, yes, and I said, and you said you deleted it. And I said, well, how is that communicating with me? And it wasn't, so.
Mike, I haven't heard from you or received an email from you in a long time.
That's not true, because I sent all of you
Well, you may have sent.
some emails on some other things, right, where I carbon copied Sean and everybody else, and all 5 of you have certainly got all those emails. So there's no reason why any of you can say, well, I didn't get any emails from you, because I sent you multiple sets of emails, and this is since last May, and here we are, almost 6, whatever months later, and not one of you have replied to any of those emails that I sent. And I still have.
It's been a long time since I have received an email from you. I'll just tell you that.
Right, no, okay.
Now, that letter you handed out is being copied, but I read it. I don't know who that attorney is, but he ended his letter by saying that you have no right to contact selectmen except through their official numbers. That's baloney.
Oh, I know that, right, well, that's the reason why I mentioned this, because,
You have every right to call me anytime. You have my home phone number.
Yes.
My home phone number, I think, is on our town website.
yeah, I already have it, yes.
So, you know, lawyers like to say those things, but I haven't heard from you in a long time,
Okay.
so I don't know whether you
And the other thing that none of the 5 of you, plus Sean or Tracy, can give me an answer is this letter that was mailed, questions have been asked to Maya, the town's insurance provider, and nobody seems to know who even complained to the town. Because if none of the 5 of you complained, because this letter was brought on by a complaint. So I've been investigating over the past couple months, who was it that complained to Maya? And Maya is not saying who the individual was, and I've been asking the five of you at different various times.
You haven't asked me.
You didn't ask me
You've
either.
never,
You've never asked me
other
that.
than
Oh,
that
okay.
one email you sent
That
me.
letter
Right.
probably came from me, from a selectman.
Oh,
I said that, there's a gentleman contacting me.
Yeah,
He is a resident of the town. I work for the residents of the town.
right, yeah,
He's got a lawsuit against the town. What do you think I should do?
yeah,
Me,
right,
lawyer, that's what I said.
And that
Yeah.
wasn't a complaint, Mike, as I told
Yeah, and
you.
that-
3 attorneys came to give the Board of
Right.
Selectmen a litigation update,
right,
your case being one of them. And so
Right.
it was during that conversation, it came up that there was, you were attempting
Right, yeah.
at times to have some ex parte conversation about your case. And that was the advice that these attorneys gave,
right.
the
Well,
Board
I
of
understand, you
Selectmen.
explained that to me, and I had said, no, I wasn't contacting the selectmen about my case stuff. It was all about additional stuff, and that's when we had this conversation. And Sean even agreed that this letter isn't even exactly 100% correct, because it says that I shouldn't be contacting you guys at home, and I am using town email addresses, but I'm still getting no answers, so. So I appreciate your information, Lance. I apologize if, that was obviously an executive session, so I don't know what was said. So I only know one side of the story, which is 50% of it, so.
I don't
And I'm
remember
guessing
an
that's when that was said, right, in that executive session? That was with the Meyer and town council?
This issue.
Yeah,
I
when
guess-
the-
3 attorneys
Okay,
sat
that's
here and
correct,
talked
yes.
to everybody.
That's correct.
That was
When
in,
when was that?
I don't know, you were
August.
not here, you were away, I believe.
Okay,
It was August, I
It
think.
was August vacation. You were on
Okay.
vacation.
I was away for a few
Yeah?
days, August, okay. Okay. Mike, you have my number.
Yeah, I do,
It's not a secret.
right.
well,
Oh,
I kind of agree with Lance, Mike. Well, I think we should have the discussion in public. We can't do it right now.
No, I understand, sure.
But I'd be willing to meet with you Monday nights, next Monday night, when there's no selectmen's meeting, if I can get 2 other members to come down here and with me.
That's Martin Luther King Day, right? I'm not, it is. I'm not available. But I'll talk to you anytime, Michael, but
Okay.
I prefer to be in this forum.
Okay.
You can call me. I
Okay,
mean, you know, landlines don't, you know.
right,
walk.
no, I know, yeah, I
But-
understand.
How about Tuesday night?
Could we, did you want to do Mr. Chair, did you want to do an informal meeting, or you want to,
Well,
or
it'll
do you
be a-
think it would actually be better to put up-
It's going to be a posted meeting.
do you think
Right,
it'd be better to meet first and then I mean, it could be possibly being put on the agenda, or do you?
If I call a special meeting for you, it would be primarily for you.
Oh, okay,
And if
Okay.
I can get the attendance of 2 others, that would be great.
okay. So we do the informal meeting first, just to kind of discuss a plan, or do you want to go ahead and do the special meeting?
there's no informal meeting with the Board of
No, it's
Selectmen.
either a
We
meeting
have a
or it's
meeting,
not.
but there's no
Oh,
meeting.
okay, well, I'm just trying to clarify
We meet with
what,
individual members, but when the board, any multiple member body that meets, if they have a quorum, that's a formal meeting.
okay. So if 3 Board of Selectmen members get together, that's technically a quorum,
That's the
per se.
minimum for having a meeting.
Okay, so that would make sense just to go ahead and do the special meeting then,
All right.
not do anything informal, because then you'd be discussing it twice anyhow, so.
So does any of the members have any preference as to what night and what time?
Why couldn't we do it at a regular scheduled meeting?
The 27th is your next scheduled meeting.
27th of January.
That's
The
fine.
agenda
If it's
looks like.
okay, I'm just, that's my opinion, instead of meeting next week.
It's okay with me.
What, bring it up on the 27th?
It's okay with me. However, if it's something that you're looking for a decision on, for myself, I need to have something in advance so I can read
Right.
it, study it, and get additional information that I need.
Right, yeah.
But if you don't want to do that, that's okay.
Well,
Don't
no, I
expect a
can. Like, for
decision.
example, like when I met with Lance and Tim, is I had actually photocopied some town public records that I got from a records request and said, these are the records I got, and then we would just discuss the records. So, yeah, so I can give you the same handout as a courtesy to make sure everybody's all on the same page, so.
Or just say, in the interest of time and focus on the discussion, we need something sort of specific, we need some specificity as far as what's gonna be discussed. Mike, I mean, you've got a list a mile long, we can't necessarily accomplish it all in once, and so.
I
think you may
understand.
wanna- Mr. Chair, I would recommend you request that Mike give you some sort of, a couple of specific issues that he wants to deal with.
Present a
because-
package and we'll make copies
Yeah,
for
that's
each
their
member.
policy.
All right.
That's,
Also, you know, this has been quite a few items involved here. and whatnot, and it's gonna take time. So to add on an agenda on top of this is not exactly the most expeditious way to do things. I think it'll be just dragged out. By the time he gets through explaining everything to us, whatever's on the agenda is gonna be way at the back.
So the sooner you can probably get the material to the board so they can review it and then tentatively put it on an agenda for the 27th?
It's not the way I like it, but if that's the way, if I can't get any other members to come down on a off night, then put it on the 27th. But we will take care of the agenda as well. But
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It's, you know, my sense is there's going to be an involved discussion.
Right.
Okay,
Discussions with Mike tend to be
long,
involved.
okay.
Therefore, it would seem expedient, if we can, because I'm probably more flexible than most, to have a meeting just on that,
It's a dedicated meeting just to that.
dedicated meeting, yeah.
I can do that, but I can't do it next Monday, and I wanna be here, you know, and how long does the meeting have to be posted for?
48 hours,
Right.
that's fine.
And Tuesday is, Conservation has their meeting here, Tuesday night.
Well, we have other
Yeah,
meetings in the day.
that's okay, the meeting
Yeah,
passes.
we
How
not
about 10 o'clock Monday morning,
Oh, no,
next
it's-
week?
It's a holiday,
It's a holiday.
Oh,
we're closed.
that's right too, Martin.
We can do Tuesday evening. I mean,
Any recommendations?
Tuesday evening, next Tuesday evening, I could do it.
We can do it in the lower town hall, but the acoustics from there are terrible.
We can do it here, we can move Concom.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, so next Monday night,
Tuesday.
Tuesday night at, geez, I really,
Mike, if this is about a pothole, Ben's in the audience.
yeah, nail them on the way out.
I'm all set with
No,
potholes,
all right.
so, all right, so Tuesday evening at what time? What, do 6,
It's
7?
the pleasure of the board.
Whatever's
Do you have any preference?
Take your pick,
All right, 6 PM?
okay with me?
Okay with me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the very last thing I just wanted to mention is, I don't know if some of you are aware, that this is so old, and this is one of the things that keeps dragging out, but there was an official written complaint against Lieutenant Emmerich that I had filed, we're talking February of 2012, and that has still never been resolved. So the last conversation I had with, well, I shouldn't say last, a couple of conversations ago with Sean, is he had handed it off to the new chief of police. I have talked to him 3 times in this building. I've gone down to the police station twice, and I sent him 3 emails. Out of all the emails, I got 0 replies back. Out of all the face-to-face conversations, he says, yes, give me a call at the station, I'll talk to you. I called the station, he's not there. I haven't been returned phone call back from him. So I went down the station, he came out, he talked to me, and I said, hey, I've been waiting 2 months now to talk to you, and you keep saying, give me another week, and I'm still waiting. And the last time he told me to come back in 3 months. So I'm not gonna come back in 3 months to him to handle this Emmer complaint.
This issue is something for me to deal with. I appoint the police chief, so this isn't necessarily the board's jurisdiction. If you got a problem with the police chief, you need to talk to me, and then I can.
Well, no, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just following, you said, I don't want this complaint anymore, I've had it for a year and a half, go talk to him. So I go talk to him.
You're not getting satisfaction from him, so you need to talk to me. I'm the next in line. So, we can have this conversation. We don't need to take up the board's time with this right now. Because
Yeah.
right now, it's a personnel issue with the chief, and that's my job.
Right, well, I'm not blaming the chief, I'm just saying this, because you said you didn't
Well,
want the complaint. You said the chief should handle it, that's why I went to him. So it
Whatever
sounds,
the problem,
it-
Mike, is
yes.
that we're not gonna resolve it. You know, you're here on the citizens forum,
yeah, I know, I
and
understand.
I
Yeah.
gave you leeway, and we've set up a meeting.
Yeah, no, I
to
appreciate
listen
that,
to
yeah,
you And go
so,
through all of
okay.
this. So why don't we just save it until,
Yeah, that's fine, I just
Next
wanted to
Tuesday
just bring that up, that's all.
all right.
All right, yeah, that's fine, I appreciate that.
Okay,
And like
Mike.
I said, it's nothing personal against the chief, I'm just frustrated in that because it's back and forth.
All
And
right.
if, I'm just looking for somebody to at least say, I can take care of that, let's do something, that's all.
Okay, do you leave
So
a,
so as far as the 5 of you, I appreciate your time, thank you so much,
All right.
and,
and you left a
Thank you,
copy of
Sean,
that
and-
letter that you brought with you?
We got,
I have what?
We have a copy?
oh, you have copies of it, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your
All
time
right,
again,
Mike.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, Streetlights. As far as the streetlights are concerned, I've been looking into it, and I have an appointment Wednesday with National Grid to go over to Hopedale and talk to them and see what's going on. So I don't have anything definitive at this time, but I do have the list of lights that were turned off.
Public Safety Committee discussed it last week, and just, based on the lack of, sort of problem areas or intersections or any, accidents or any sort of problems attributable to streetlights or lack of lighting in any particular area, the Public Safety Committee didn't see the need to make a recommendation to illuminate any more lights. But certainly, individuals who have concerns, as they often do, or whatever, obviously free to come to the board.
They probably don't have the, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
No, I'm done, go ahead.
They just probably, I'm not sure, don't want to say anything, but I'll go on the internet and see if I can get some responses that would be favorable. And I'll tell them of not vindictively, that they has received a negative vote from the public safety, and see if we can get this resolved.
Well, it's not really negative, it's just a matter of, public safety deals in practicalities and necessities or whatever, and so, again, if there was an area, if there were a problem area based on, the only thing public safety is gonna evaluate is public safety, and there doesn't seem to be any public safety issues as a result of lighting, that's the only opinion, so it's not like really negative.
Yeah,
It's just, there doesn't seem, there's no evidence or reason from a public safety perspective to make a change to the street lighting configuration. That's all.
Tim, when you have that meeting,
yeah,
I wish you'd bring up something with them.
okay,
When the board, and this goes back a long time, more than 10 years ago, we looked at all the streetlights in the town of Uxbridge, and we found a number of streetlights that under the policy should not be maintained. However, the way it works, or worked, is when we have a streetlight put up, we don't pay for the light. We just pay a monthly charge. However, if we discontinue the light before the power company has amortized the cost of the light, we would have to pay the unamortized cost of the light. So therefore, we left some lights, several lights, let's say several, perhaps a dozen lights on that we wouldn't otherwise have left on because we didn't want to come up with the cash to say, okay, here's the money to amortize the light and discontinue them. But that was a long time ago. So surely
I think
all those lights have been
those-
amortized.
and the law has changed too. They can amortize at any time. From my understanding, Rhode Island does it, Peter.
What do you mean by amortize at any time?
What did you mean by it?
What I mean
Its
is,
present value.
okay,
How long has it been hanging up there, and now what is it worth? That's what I mean.
okay, but that was based on the cost of the light to begin with,
Yeah,
okay? The
right.
bigger the light, the more it costs, the longer it takes to fully amortize the cost.
Right.
However, all those lights should have been fully amortized a long time ago. So if we discontinue any light, because I don't remember any big lights put up recently
There
by
shouldn't
the
be any
town.
penalty, right.
And also, there was a discrepancy. The power company gave us a list of all the streetlights with the street and the pole numbers. And I double-checked some of those things. And I found that we were being charged for lights where there were no lights and so forth. And I could never get, this goes back to Mike when he was the manager. He would talk to the power company, could never get it resolved. So maybe you can get it resolved. But we should have an accurate list of all the lights that the town is paying for by street and pole number. Because I don't want to be paying for lights that aren't there.
No, I think you're right on that. I'm not going to disagree with that at all, but I'll get that, a recent list. I'm sure they can come up with that.
And while you're talking to him, give him a little kick about removing the double poles.
Well, that's the other thing too that was gonna go along with it, was to increase the tariff for them putting the poles in town.
Yeah.
If they're gonna hang up 2 poles, then we'll double the tariff, and if they're gonna have 3 poles, we'll triple it. But nobody wants to do it, you
Is
know.
there a
was-
tariff? I didn't know there was a
I
tariff.
don't know, is there? Don't,
I don't think
don't
so.
they pay something to have the poles up, or do they just get that for nothing? Is that a freebie?
I think it is,
They pay, the power, National Grid pays for the pole,
yes.
unless other arrangements.
But they don't pay to,
We could buy the poles and then we'd have to maintain them and,
that's what I was thinking, that's the other thing I was looking into. I've written away for,
but then, but
some
there's no need
information.
for that, cause now if we have a light, if we owned the poles and a light bulb burnt out, we'd have to be changing bulbs ourselves.
Well, we have a fire truck with a bucket in it.
We have a lot of poles. We have-
Where is he? Where'd he go?
Did you wanna tell the police chief we're gonna have these guys changing light bulbs now?
No, the police wouldn't be doing it, we used to have the fire out there.
Sorry, the fire chief.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll bring back the information, for the next meeting on the 27th, all right?
I'm friendly with Bob Russell over there in Hopedale. If you want company on that meeting, I'd be interested to go, because he and I have emailed each other quite a bit. Actually, he was out here a couple of weeks ago, I met him,
Yeah.
so.
I
Is he the guy, is he the gentleman you're meeting?
I just left a message on the machine and said that I would be over,
Okay.
okay?
I'm happy to call him and set up a meeting if you want. He may even come here.
Oh, that'd be all
I
right,
can do
too.
that tomorrow if you want. You want me to call him?
Yeah, if you would, please.
All right.
Be good.
I'll have him bring a printout, the latest printout they have of our lights, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the sand policy by the DPW. Mr. Sherman will address that problem.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Just to give you a quick little summary, actually prior to my arrival here at the DPW in 2009, the winter sand for resident program, whatever we want to call it, was discontinued, primarily due to excessive use by local contractors. Initially, it was put out in the large parking lot, and I guess more or less the right was abused by a few in town, and so the board back then elected to stop that program. Just recently this month, at the request of the town manager, wanted to investigate the possibilities of bringing that back. We've since talked. I drafted up a policy to have the board review, where we can establish a location in the upper garage area. That will allow, it's close proximity to the parking lot there at the administration building, but you'd still have to walk over and get it. That would hopefully minimize, the abuse that was experienced in the past. So what you have in front of you is that policy, which, outlines, what we feel is, are the needs as far as applying this going forward. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Well, I'm glad it's been revised, because when I read that first draft, I was astonished. I mean, it sounded like something the Gestapo would put out. You can't have any sand on weekends, and it has to be right between, 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock and 7. Well, people aren't available then, they're at work.
Right.
And so forth. But I'm
Well, you'd be
glad-
surprised. That was really the reasoning behind that, because we have experienced times during storms, especially when people are in and out of the site, and it just causes, it's a public safety issue. So the restrictions initially put in there on time were for that reason.
Well, I beg to differ, because if a quick storm is due, let's say Sunday, and you can go and get sand on Saturday, you're less apt to be interfering with normal operations, plus
Correct.
people will have the sand, you see? So the greater number of hours that people have available to do it is better.
That's why we revised it. I mean, we have people now in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
1 PM, will drive into the yard,
Yeah,
past the employees only, restricted access only, will
Yeah.
drive in and drive right up to that pile.
yeah,
People
Drive
are
around the
shameless.
loader.
They'll drive,
yeah.
Drive right around the loader that's loading salt into the salt shed.
Yeah.
This is why we need this.
exactly.
This is why we need this. I love it, Ben, I love it.
I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm so happy. Salt's back. Salt and sand, all right.
Just
Good.
saying.
The only issue that I come up with is this thing about, you know, contractors. And I was thinking about it. Let's say I'm a landowner, a property owner, and I want some sand for my driveway. Well, I have a truck, and I have a shovel, don't need to provide me with a shovel. I can put some sand in my bucket and I'm okay. But how about Grandma Smith, that still drives her car, but she's alone, lives alone, has an angled driveway that she'd like to have some sand. But she's not able to go and fill up a 5-gallon bucket and put in her truck. However, she has someone that plows her driveway, but they don't normally do sanding. But she's still a resident of Uxbridge. She pays for the sand, because we all pay for these things. What is wrong with her plow person getting some sand for her?
Because she's paying for it twice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No,
Unfortunately.
I'm not saying
No,
she's paying for it
she's-
twice, no, 'cause
Well,
you
she's
don't,
paying for it once with the taxes, and
No.
the nice gentleman's not doing it for free.
well, no.
He didn't get the sand for free.
He plows anyway, you see? But he doesn't have a sander, but he might carry a little bit of sand for putting little areas.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, so he's got a big route with a bunch of, no,
Maybe.
yeah.
I think if it's a commercial vehicle, it shouldn't
I
be on
understand
the
what you're
property
saying.
taking any sand unless they've made arrangements with the selectmen or Ben, or of course Sean.
What arrangements?
Make arrangements to justify how they can possibly go down there and take sand out of there.
Well,
Why,
according to
why
this
do we want
policy,
commercial
they
vehicles
can't
on
make
there?
They can't make any arrangement, because this is the
Good,
policy.
then leave it just the way it is.
Okay.
If somebody wants it, then they'll make arrangements to have their neighbor come down and get it.
I'm not
All
sure
right.
if we could cover every contingency.
Right.
Well,
Like it's-
I'm not looking to cover every contingency.
I see what you're saying,
I'm just trying to
Peter.
look at both sides of the story.
But 98% of the people are gonna schlep down there with 2 5-gallon buckets and take care of their neighbor with that 5-gallon bucket or
Maybe.
whatever.
That may be.
So it
Yeah.
does look suspicious when the guy pulls up and he's loading up his truck. I'm not into that.
Well, I'm not talking about loading up a truck. You're
No.
misunderstanding what I'm saying.
He's taking more than his share.
Okay, so what is the share then?
2 5-gallon buckets. I can do my 242-foot driveway that
Okay,
falls 30 feet
But I don't
with 2
see.
5-gallon buckets.
I don't see 2-gallon,
What is it?
5-gallon
Yeah,
buckets
it
in
is.
here.
It's in there.
There
Yeah.
is?
Right near
Okay.
the
I must
three-quarters
have
of the way
missed
down.
Front page, 3/4 of the
Yeah.
way down.
Okay. The abuse controls. There are no exceptions to the conditions of this policy. These are no exceptions, okay. All town employees are authorized to ask violators to leave or to limit their use of sand. When violators do not respect the direction from a non-police employee, the Uxbridge Police Department may be called to ask violators to leave. Any questions, concerns, or problems with this process and procedure must be addressed to the Board of Selectmen through the town manager. Now, first, selectmen don't need to be addressed only through the town manager. And the board has never come to grips with this separation of authority. The Board of Selectmen is a Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen has a chairman.
We're addressing that
Independent of the board.
deficiency, aren't we?
Okay? But anyway, should the Board of Selectmen hear of any abuse or unintentional misuse of this policy, immediate action will be taken to correct the problem and address the policy in public. Is that word unintentional? Is that what you want? Unintentional.
I like it, Peter. I like
do?
it. Yeah, I
Okay.
like it a lot.
All right, good.
And just one step further, I do not want to be at work and get a call that Mrs. Jones took 3 5-gallon buckets. I don't want that to happen to me. That's his job, as far as I'm concerned.
No.
Sure it is.
Let me finish now. Immediate action shall be taken to correct the problem and address the policy in public. Now, we're a multiple member body. It's difficult for multiple member bodies to take immediate action. Do you understand what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying.
All
It
right.
says in the last sentence that if they have a problem with this policy, they're encouraged to come to a Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, but that's not what it says before that. It says, should the Board of Selectmen hear of any abuse or unintentional misuse of this policy, immediate action will be taken to correct the problem.
Well, we could change that to as soon as practicable or at the next
Well,
scheduled
again, I'm
meeting.
just pointing out the reality. This is a policy. And supposedly, if we have a policy, we should mean what it says.
Did we have a policy in place before?
I don't remember.
And look, it got taken away from us. Now we'll have a policy, we can stand by it and tell that person they can't come back
Okay.
for a year,
But
whatever.
That's okay. You can shoot them if
Let's
you
just
want.
bring sand to the
Bother.
people.
Well, we don't, that's pretty serious. Is there any other problems with this policy?
I like it, Ben.
To be discussed? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept this policy at this time. I'm requesting a motion to accept the policy submitted to us on January 13th of 2013.
14.
14, yeah, okay. Go ahead, Sean, if you want to laugh, go ahead.
A lot of dates, it's a lot of stuff. It's a mouthful.
Is there a motion to accept this policy?
Yeah, I move that the board approve the winter sand use policy.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Peter?
Just 1 second, please. Okay, I'll abstain. I'm sorry, no, I'll vote no.
All right, Ben.
Okay.
Good job. I think you did a good job writing up, and I think the location is going to be good, too.
Yeah, it's right up front.
Yep. Who's next on the agenda?
Ben.
Ben,
Wastewater treatment plant.
stay right there, Ben.
All right.
Why we got you here?
It's been a little while since I've been in front of you to give you an update on the happenings down at the wastewater treatment plant. Trying to recall when that exactly was, but for the benefit of the public, we received our permit last year, our final permit, which we did appeal through the US EPA and the Mass DEP. Since then, the appeal was filed. We held 2 coordinated meetings between both parties, the US EPA and Mass DEP. The first one being in Boston, where we kind of began negotiations on moving forward with a revised permit, something that we could all live with. The second meeting was held here in Uxbridge, and at that time we conducted a site visit with the regulators so they could kind of see firsthand the condition of the plant, the layout of the plant, so forth. And the negotiations continued, and I can say that the primary focus on these meetings has been on schedule. The EPA tries to keep, these upgrades or changes that need to occur within one permit cycle, which is a 5-year permit. So there's been a lot of discussion on trying to get everything to fit in within a permit cycle. As you all know from the recent town meeting, we went forward with a request to do or use SRF funding for the expansion of our planning study, which was currently at a facilities planning level, and through the permit process, we had a condition imposed upon us to elevate that to a comprehensive wastewater management plan level. So through town meeting, we were able to achieve approval to move forward with that. Some other things, based on our meetings with the EPA, we have agreed with them to do some internal or interim data gathering on optimizing plant operations The permit itself is structured with some interim limits and then some final limits. And the purpose of the interim limits is to, tighten up the belt, so to speak, on our way to full compliance with their proposed permit limits. So what we've been doing is staff has been adjusting various chemicals and trying different things within the plant configuration right now to achieve these interim limits. The problem that has precipitated this, no pun intended, is that the limits that they're asking of us, we don't have good data on because the prior permit had like seasonal limits. Now we have, say during the winter, we have some cold weather issues that we're trying to work through. So through this process of doing some additional sampling, some optimization at the plant, we're working with the regulators and trying to achieve this balance to show that we can or can't, or to what extent we can meet these interim limits. This work actually began roughly back, November, December, with these operational changes. We're still, like I said, negotiating and working with the regulators on this data. There's been some tweaks because there are some new processes and new sampling that is under or included with that. And conversely, we've seen an increase in some of our operational expenses as a result of that, and that was also reflected during the recent town meeting where we requested a transfer to cover these additional expenses in chemicals and laboratory test equipment and testing that is required to achieve that. We are still working with special counsel. They've been involved with this from the very beginning. They are working closely with the council, with the US EPA and DEP. To date, we have submitted a total of 3 motions extending the stay that has been put on the permit. Washington has put strict timelines on trying to comply with the permit, so they're pressing everybody to get this done in a timely fashion. So we are working on that, and as of the last status update, which is at the beginning of this month, the US EPA has an internal draft administrative order, which we are hoping to see probably sometime later this month. In addition to that, back just before the holiday, we held a kickoff meeting internally, and there were a couple of selectmen there in attendance to kick off the comprehensive wastewater management plan process, and it was kind of our goal to just get some people around the table, start thinking about the big scope items and time frames, since again the focus was on this compliance schedule that we have tentatively agreed to and is still being worked out at the regulatory level. One of the things that came out of that kickoff meeting was a need to put together some kind of what we would like to call an advisory group to help support this effort in completing the comprehensive wastewater management plan. And that's something I'm going to work with Sean with to see if we can get a group of people from the public, internal, to just assist in the process. So there will be more of that to come in the future.
Excuse me, is that what's the purpose of that group?
I think it's going to be multifaceted. I mean, one thing, there's limited staff here in town hall in the various departments. Combine that with institutional knowledge that may or may not be available within the town government. And
So you're looking
outside.
for people with special expertise or knowledge or background in certain areas?
I mean, yeah, because it's going to cover the gamut, because the plan is going to be beyond the treatment plan itself. We're going to be looking at some planning level items, with the town as a whole. So we're going to be branching everything from Board of Health to the planning, obviously, the wastewater treatment side. So we're looking to put together an advisory group to help foster the development of this plan with our consultant. Let's see, and the most recent thing, like I had mentioned, we have been working with representatives from EPA, the permit writers, their council, DEP and their council, and some of the other technical people in Boston DEP. Now we are into the compliance phase and working with the compliance section at the US EPA. Unfortunately, the compliance people don't talk with the permit writers, so we're trying to bridge that gap between the two sections within the EPA, and making sure that this is going to maintain the smooth flow that we've experienced to date. I have to say, our meetings with the two regulators have been very promising. We've actually covered a lot of ground. Unfortunately, we're kind of having to redo that process now that the compliance people are involved, because they are the ones that will ultimately sign off on the administrative order with the EPA. So again, we're working closely with them through our consultant. The last thing I have is that we had talked about SRF funding. I just recently received an email from the DEP on the SRF program, and the planning study is on the intended use plan for this year, so we are progressing as we thought we would. There's a public hearing at the end of the month, so hopefully that'll be issued, I think, in the February timeframe, and then the process of securing that funding to continue on with the study will be forthcoming. So that's all I had, kind of a snapshot of where we're at and where we're going. If you have any specific questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
No, I think at the last meeting that Jen and I were at, that everything was covered pretty good, and you just polished it up a little bit.
Yep.
Actually, I hope things are going good.
Yeah, and like I said, I think, as we get farther into this, the comprehensive plan, there will be more updates to come, and there will be definite opportunities for input from the public, because we're planning a pretty aggressive, public information campaign, just to keep the public as well as, the board abreast of what's going on.
Okay. Any questions from any of the members or the audience? Anybody want to question Mr. Chairman at this time? Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.
Winter parking ban. Sean, you wanna? Is that yours, or?
Well, at a meeting of the Public Safety Committee on last Thursday, there was a there's some discrepancy in the town between the actual posted hours on the website and the hours that are mentioned on parking tickets. And so there was some discussion as far as the history of the winter parking ban and enforceability. And so, given the fact that we don't have any, I'm not sure we have any establishments left in town that are open till 2 a.m. 12 is a little bit too early, because we do have places that are open till 1. And so Lieutenant Emmerich mentioned that originally the hours had been 1 to 5, and that seems to be reasonable and enforceable, and in keeping with the intention of the policy, which is just to keep cars off the street overnight. Not to keep them off the street altogether, but just for long periods of time overnight. So given the 1 to 5 is in sort of the dark of the night, after most things are closed and before most things are open, with the caveat that should there be any sort of violation, something that gets in the way of public safety, whether it's plows or whatever, that we always have the town still does have the option to tow any vehicle that's actually in the way of operations. So this was deemed to be the most sort of effective, enforceable hours.
Does this policy apply to the municipal lot?
The municipal lot is on its own, it's posted, I believe that's 12 to 6.
Okay, so there's a separate policy.
Correct.
Okay.
They're also limited to where they can
Yes.
park also.
Right.
So the only change in the policy is from 1 to 5 a.m.?
It's just the hours, correct.
Yeah. You want to vote on that? You want amendment on that?
It would be your policy, so you would need to vote if you'd like to change it, yes.
Okay, entertain a motion at this time to change the park and ban time from 12 to 6 to 1 to 5, 1 to 5 a.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. General, you're next. Mr. General is going to speak to us on the designer selection procedures in
Thank you, Mr.
accordance to Mass General Law and the town policies and whatever he has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is part of the process that we're undergoing with the redesign of the center fire station. Under the designer selection law, before we do anything else, before we put out an RFP for any services or any design services for the building, the Board of Selectmen are required to accept rules having to do with governing the RFP, the opening of the RFP, the evaluation of the proposals. So, just to back up a little bit, I believe Chief Kessler has been before the board and has discussed this. The original plan a few years ago was to do something with Station 2. At the last fall town meeting, we decided to surplus Station 2, and we are looking to do something at the center fire station, the fire headquarters, when the school borrowing of 1998 comes off the books. That debt exclusion comes off. So in order to to have something before the voters in time to put that new debt to make up for that debt, we need to get this design out of the way. So this is the first part of the whole center fire station redesign. So all that this does is once the board accepts these procedures, the next phase of that is that we would put an RFP out for design services for the either remodel or building of a new center fire station. But we cannot do that without these being accepted by the board first, according to the designer selection law.
And we have the money for that?
Yes. That is in the TAF gift fund
All right,
for the fire station.
so we'll entertain a motion to accept the policy of the financial management policy and objectives as of today's date, January 13th, 2014.
I move that the board approve the designer selection procedure policy.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, David, thank you. Keeping us straight and honest. Let's see. One day beer and wine for Our Lady of the Valley Regional School.
We have the
Capital plan?
Capital plan.
Oh, sorry. Gee, gotta keep these in order. All right, well, we got a tag team here. We got Ben and Dave. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What you have before you tonight is a draft capital plan that was first voted by the capital committee and then brought over to the town manager for his approval and analysis. This is the draft version of that. We'll probably be updating it just a little bit more at this particular point. But in looking at it, I mean, a lot of this is the standard capital plan that you see every year. You may note, unfortunately, the total on the capital plan continues to climb, and this year it's at $72 million. There's obvious that can be attributed to the addition of all the water mains down around the Main Street area. Those were all added on this year. The new police chief, Chief Laurie, has added on some capital that he feels that he needs for the police station as well. And obviously, the big one, as we were just discussing, had to do with the sewer treatment plant. So what's happened through this is the capital committee, which is basically comprised of an odd amount of town citizens, some being resident department heads, have met. This is the second year since the new committee reformed that they met. They put out recommendations last year. A lot of the recommendations that you see on this year's plan still come from last year. So the list is basically, a new recommendation this year has to do with the McCloskey and Whiten roof repair and the school floor replacement. That was presented to the board a couple of meetings ago, I do believe. Obviously, none of that is going to be funded this year, but one of the recommendations from the capital committee was funding about a $60,000 fund to do interim repairs on the roofs and just to keep them stable until they can work their way through the MSBA emergency repair program. So that's one of their recommendations. That's their primary one recommendation out of all. Secondly was the bridge and culvert repairs at $2,055,000. They also have the library fire escape at $75,000. The replacement of athletic field lighting, which is an $84,000 project, but 90% of it would be offset by a grant from National Grid. So it's basically an $8,900 cost to the town.
Where is that, to the school? Did you say to the school department?
Pardon me?
At the fields
Yes,
for those lights?
yep. So you replace the existing lights with LED lights, basically, through a grant from National Grid.
For the fields?
Yes,
At Whiten.
That's great.
They're already lit.
Already lit.
Replacing the lights.
I understand. It's, they're gonna take 90% of that?
National Grid,
Yeah.
through a grant, will pay for 90%. We have to pay 10%.
And we'll save a lot in our electrical bills because the LED lights are far more energy efficient.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's pretty common knowledge, but the changeover is very expensive for the town to do it, because you were saying that the cost was quite a bit per pole.
Well, in this situation, we would be getting a grant, so I think off the top of my head, I think the town would be 10 grand, is it?
Yeah, $8,400 or
Yeah.
something. That's the net cost to the town after the grant has been applied. So, it is a cost, it's costly, there's no doubt about it, but 90% of it's being offset by
I
National
know,
Grid.
Dave, but really, there are other things in town that we could really use, like the fire escape to the library. You know, there's no need of going through this, I don't know.
Well, I mean, what we're looking at is definitely the fire escape to the library. This is something that's very interesting, and at the cost and the savings level, this is something that typically wouldn't even be on the capital plan's radar because it's under $50,000. So obviously, if the savings is there in the power usage over the year, to spend $8,900 really is insignificant. If we were paying the full $80,000, that'd be a totally different scenario. In discussions with Sean, we sat down, we went over these, and I don't want to speak for him, obviously, but we agree that these are the priorities. Not all of them are going to be funded this year, probably most of
I
them
hope
are,
not.
obviously. I mean, these are going to carry, a lot of these are going to carry from year to year. The bridge and culverts, if you look on the plan, the capital committee has seen some of them being done around 2018, 2019. And the funding mechanism still is up in the air. The funding mechanism right now is based on the financial policy that the board accepted, I believe, 2 meetings ago, that will set that stabilization balance at $2.5 million, and we will use whatever we have from there. It's still not a funding mechanism, a permanent funding mechanism. It's a start. And what the job of the capital committee is to go through, prioritize those plans, and then we will try to fund them as they go on. And that's what the purpose of this document is. It's required that it be filed before January 31st every year. This is what it is. We are going to look to fund it. And the first year of the plan is going to be the hardest, because right now we have $395,000 available, but unfortunately our snow and ice budget is nearly depleted. So some of that 395 is going to go to the snow and ice deficit. But this is the start, and we are going to try to bring it forward from here. But we update the plan every year. It's a little difficult when it's showing $73 million. Obviously, one of the things that the committee has talked about doing is really going through and trying to decide as we go forward. This is a great list. Anybody can make a list. The question is, what realistically are we going to be funding in a period of time? That's the next discussion that has to take place. But we figure that's probably going to take the committee a good amount of time, because you really have to sit with every department, look at every piece of equipment, and really come up with an idea of how it needs to go. But that being said, looking at the recommendations for this year, the actionable items that you are likely to see as we get to the Springtown meeting or even into next fall is something on the library fire escape. That's something that we'd like to do, because obviously if you can open up that third floor to public usage, that certainly would be helpful. And right now we cannot do it until that is taken
Quantify
care of.
that will be helpful. Explain exactly. What do we gain by using that third floor? You
Right
said
now,
it will be helpful.
Because
What does
right
that
now
mean?
it's non-public space.
That's correct. And it has been non-public for how long?
Probably quite a few years.
Yes, okay, so I want to know.
Okay.
What benefit do people derive that's worth $75,000?
Programming.
What program?
I could put.
Can you stand up? This is Caroline McMaster, our new library director.
I can put artists in there, I can put
Sure you
authors
can.
in there, I can put all
Absolutely.
kinds of things in there.
Absolutely, you can
Literacy
do.
programs, ESL programs.
Absolutely, we can do all those things, but that's not the question. The question is, to what degree of importance do we assign these various things? There is no limit to the number of things we would like to do. And David
Like
said
not
it
having a fire
exactly
escape, you
right.
can't use the second floor, you're heating a section of a library you can't use.
That's correct.
You can't dead that section of a library because the furnace is so old, it's gonna blow its top any day. I just had an emergency fix for that. The building is gonna bleed to death. That's what's happening to the library. You gotta
From what
fix
you're
it.
just telling me, it makes no sense whatever to do something with the third floor. The boiler's gonna blow up and we're gonna
Gotta
fix the
fix it. You know, you can't have a furnace that's 100 years old. You can't have a building that's over 100 years old and not have a fire exit. What are you gonna do? Put people in there and have them burn to death?
Hold it,
You
hold
gotta
it.
get people out of the
Let's
building.
take it easy,
We
all right?
do
We're
have-
not here to get into
Well,
an
we-
argument. You want to
This
defend
is
the
a deliberative body, and that's what we're supposed to do, Tim.
Well, give the
What?
librarian chief a chance to answer. She
I've
said
given her
that
a chance
they're
to
gonna
answer.
use it, what for?
This is a Board of Selectmen meeting.
I don't need any reminders from you, Peter. I know exactly where I am.
Okay,
And don't
that's
do it
good.
again to me.
I won't do it again to you.
All right,
This is a Board of Selectmen's meeting.
yeah,
It's
you just did it again.
the meeting, for the purpose of the meeting, is for the Board of Selectmen to get information.
And I'm trying to give it to you.
Yes.
Every library in the United States that is publicly funded has a room that they use for communities, for different activities that go with libraries. Not having a room or having a room with no fire escape is like buying a ticket on the Titanic knowing it's gonna sink. You've gotta fix the library. It needs a fire escape and it needs a new furnace, and that's what it comes down to.
The room you're talking about is accessible by a circular stairway.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay. Difficult for many people to negotiate.
Exactly.
Okay.
A new fire escape would allow them to come up through the outside of the building into the building.
So now you're talking about not a fire escape, but an elevator type thing.
No, I'm talking about a fire escape that's designed by people who know what they're doing for libraries and buildings that use public use that need stairwells.
We're still
And you
gonna
put them
ask-
with the correct amount of landings to them so that people can go up them.
So still, you're going to ask people to climb 3 flights of stairs.
Well, I figure, you know, a $75,000 fire escape that I can get for people to be able to climb is better than coming to you asking you for a couple $1 million for an elevator.
David said it just right when he said we really don't have a funding mechanism. Our funding mechanism is maybe we'll hit the megabucks.
Well,
And
yeah.
that's not a funding mechanism.
So what do you do now? Update your schools because we may not,
Oh,
they may not go on for further education? So we give them a lower cost of education? Is that what you're saying the library is worth?
No.
The library's got to be a valued part of society so that people who can't afford the internet at home and can't afford to go on vacations and can't afford further education can gain their education through their public library, which their tax dollars paid for.
70% of the circulation is fiction. So,
I'm not going to agree with you on
Is-
that.
Now, this has got nothing to do with the fire escape, does it? About the 70%
And-
what we're trying to
fiction?
do is justify the cost, which is $75,000.
Why would you have a...
And how are we devaluing what you're using at the library? Who says that reading fiction should not be valued the same as nonfiction? Maybe that fiction book that that person wants to read is the only way they're going to get out of their house. It's the only way they're going to be able to put themselves into a book where they can forget about their rotten, sucky life.
Right. I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you.
That's a wonderful
It's a chance
presentation.
for people to go down and read a magazine and look up things and not get harassed.
And find
I think it's great.
information.
I mean,
And there's another
we've been
consideration.
paying the bill for a good many years. We should be entitled to some enjoyment and a place to go and read.
There's another consideration to this as well. If you've read the capital plan over a number of years, one thing that's always been on there is a $2 million or so library expansion.
Right.
Now, there can be arguments made, pro and con, as to whether that needs to happen. You know, some people will say yes, others will say no. But I guess the question is, can you even have that conversation if you have a floor that is available for that should be available for public use, but is not available for public use? And looking at the cost factor, if you're looking at $75,000 versus $2 million, not saying that $2 million would be approved, but you're still, at least at that particular point, you are using the building to its full potential.
Exactly.
That's one argument to look at, or one reason to look at it. And the repair, at this point in time, the library, the fire escape itself, Sean and I were just speaking about it outside. You can't repair it, you have to replace it, it's no longer up to code, so forget about the third floor, you still have the second floor, and the first floor where that existing structure is no longer serving its purpose. That's one of the reasons why the capital committee brought it forward as a recommendation, a priority recommendation to the town manager. The third floor obviously helps, but you're still addressing code on the first and second floor.
We haven't, and what it boils down to now today, an actual replacement cost hasn't really been nailed down yet either, because what some libraries have been able to do is erect a pressure-treated structure as opposed to a, cast iron or a steel structure or whatever that's also up to code, which is obviously far less expensive. But I'm I'm gonna be having a conversation with the chair of the Board of Library Trustees this week to talk about that, because I haven't gotten any information back from them as far as what the cost estimate for that would be, although I've been told it's quite a bit less expensive, so.
Because the only access to the library is that main front door, right?
And there's a
Other than the front-
bottom floor into the
No,
children's room.
Yeah,
and then
in the
main
bottom,
floor.
but I'm saying off the main level, the only entrance is the front door.
Right,
So you need the fire escape on that main floor.
exactly.
And quite honestly, Peter, a lot of the rationale for this does revolve around what David actually mentioned, was that the Board of Library Trustees is consistent, has been persistent in its discussion of a need for an expansion.
Oh,
And
sure.
my consistent response to that has been, use the space you've got first, let's use what we have first, and then let's talk about an expansion. And this is gonna facilitate that. It's one of the things that it's going to do. In addition to the safety element, it's also going to allow the Board of Library Trustees to see what they can actually do when they can use their entire building.
There is no logical limit to the kinds of things that a library can provide for people. All nice things, all things that they would like to have. However, the money that's available is in fact limited. Now, if you look at the library today, a major portion of the space is devoted to videos and, DVDs and so forth.
I have less than
And
12 square feet
libraries
for
were
videos.
invented for the purpose of educating people,
Mm-hmm.
because at that time, buying a book was beyond the means of the average person. That's why free libraries were invented. And I have many library books that I purchased over the years with the card in the back. The rules were, it is expected that you will take out 2 nonfiction books for every fiction, because the purpose was to facilitate the education of the population. Now, the prime function is entertainment. There's nothing wrong with entertainment.
You weren't aware of that, were you?
Some of my
I'm
best
gonna completely
friends-
disagree with you.
Some of
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
best friends are entertainment.
I know I take
But
out
that's
one
not why
audiobook
we
a
have the
week to
library.
drive to work, and it's a nonfiction.
Yeah.
And that's an audiobook that I take out, only because I don't want to read while I'm driving. That probably wouldn't work out very well. I disagree with you. I mean, our stacks speak for themselves. We have 30,000 of circulation for nonfiction a year in that library. We have about 23,000 circulation for fiction. Fiction is lower than the nonfiction, because we have a strong base for nonfiction. I just spent $2,000 on nonfiction material. I didn't spend $2,000 on fiction.
All right,
you know-
that being said, I think that you've made a good case, and I think it's up to the vote of the people.
Right.
We don't need any more history. Okay,
One of the things about the capital plan is, once again, under the policy that's approved by the board, all of any spending on any of this is a recommendation by a capital committee, this is a recommendation by the town manager, that will then be presented to the Board of Selectmen for inclusion on the warrant. That will be the time on the board's opinion and on the town's opinion as to how any of these monies get spent.
that's right.
So, but we wanted to present the board with a plan. Like I said, I found one typo that I want to fix anyway, and there was a question having to do with the two amounts. The capital committee was using the amount that was that was on the plan last year. That the actual spreadsheets for some of the new items came after the capital committee had made its vote, so that's the only reason for a difference between the two numbers. But this will be published and on the town's website and available in the clerk's office before the 30th, as required by the charter. And then we just have to see where the revenues go from here, and then decisions will be made as to what appears on the spring or depending fall annual town meeting warrant for any of these items.
Okay. I think with the, as far as the fire escape, I think with Sean's continuous looking into it, we'll see how we do, see what comes out.
The one day liquor license.
Now we do the beer license, huh?
Back on track.
Okay. Okay, an application for a one-day beer and wine license, Our Lady of the Valley Regional School, beer and wine tasting at the Parish Center, 77 Minna Street.
The big drinkers over there at OLV, huh?
Yeah, they are. There's
Fun-
one guy in
fundraising, maybe.
particular that has it every morning, so.
I move that the board approve the one-day beer and wine license for Our Lady of the Valley Regional School for the beer and wine tasting event, St. Mary Parish, for Saturday, February 1st, 2014, 7 PM to 9 PM.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board of Selectmen Annual Report. This was written by our own Mrs. Jennifer Modica. Everybody read it. Are you gonna read it now, or why don't you read it now?
I don't even have it with me.
I'm sure amongst these papers here, I have it.
I'm not reading it
I
out
can't,
loud,
I
are we?
can't,
You want mine?
no, give it to Jennifer. I don't know if she's gonna read, you don't wanna read the whole thing?
No, you're just gonna make a motion to approve the.
Unless you had changes to it, if anyone had any.
It was just, all right, if there's any changes, then we'll do it behind the closed doors. I entertain a motion at this time to approve the report submitted by Jen on the fiscal year Board of Selectmen. Any discussion on it?
Yes. I think it's self-serving puffery. But I don't want you to change it if you don't want to. Just leave my name off of it, please.
Any further discussion?
I move that the board approve the FY13 annual report.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, I'd like the record to show that I requested my name not be on the report. Thank you.
What do you want to see included?
What?
What do you want to see included?
Just, the report summarizes activities that the board went through during the year. It talks about things that the board had very little to do with. Talks about a major item is the approval of the asphalt plant. We had nothing to do with that. We weren't involved in it. The people decided on their own they wanted to do it, and they came before us. I don't know why. But it's not something that we did, and I certainly wouldn't call it a major addition to the town. It's just, and we're not telling people that we're not doing anything, which is what we should be telling them. We're not telling them that every department is vastly overcharging in their fees, which is patently illegal, and we're complicit in that. We're not telling them that we're doing nothing regarding zoning bylaws or the charter change. It's just self-serving, and that's done a lot. I just don't like to be a part of it.
That's your choice. Any other discussion? We did take a vote, didn't we?
Yep.
All right. Let's move on. And we got the schedule for the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Yep, and it's
For-
typically the second and fourth Monday of
Yeah.
every month, and you'll see a Tuesday here and there, and that's when there's a holiday that falls.
Okay.
So
The next is a Board of Selectmen newsletter that Tracy and Jennifer have been working on. Like you all to take a look at it. Ta-da!
So this might be something the Board of Selectmen might want to think about doing on a monthly basis, if there's participation and you want to submit an article, and we could post it on the website and under news and announcements. So, for an example, you could have a message from the Board of Selectmen, this issue, the town manager threw in a message, contact persons and departments, if you will, and then a message from other departments, a little history of the town, and then any upcoming events that are occurring, the winter parking ban, and so forth. And you can see there was a copy in your packets, if this is something the board was interested in doing on a monthly basis.
Just to get to the, get to everybody and let them know that the selectmen are here and the town manager to assist whenever they have a problem, with the exception of Mike. Mike, you're all right. Take it easy.
Little humor. I love it.
So we have a website.
Yes, we do.
Now we have, what is this, Facebook or
No.
Twitter? What is it?
No,
Are we,
it's
no.
No,
This
no,
is
this
going to
nothing.
be our,
This is just for the selectmen.
On the website.
it's
the
on the
website.
town website.
So if there are things that we want to put to the public, wouldn't it be more efficient to utilize the existing website?
We would be. This would be.
It's a
go-
document. This is a
Just a
document.
That would be get posted under news and announcements on the website.
in case you want to put some comments in. We're all going to try to write one article a month, right?
If you could all participate.
Not every month, all
No,
of us,
yeah,
but one selectman every month will
If-
put in
yeah.
something that you want to bring up in history and whatnot, that you want to say, well, just a thought. Okay. I think it's,
So would the board
okay.
like to proceed with something like this?
Yeah.
Before we put any more time into it?
Is there, anybody have any objections to this?
I look at it as people having time on their hands with nothing really to do. So we want to do Facebook and Schmacebook and whatever these things. The police department has a webpage now, he's on Facebook or whatever it is.
But it's a common thing.
I
About
don't-
90% of the towns and the cities do this.
Absolutely.
All right.
I was told once that though 50,000 do a foolish thing, it is still a foolish thing. So I'm not necessarily moved by the fact that many other people do it.
I think it's got some great advantages,
I do too. Thank you.
especially the police and the fire, when they put out, there's a water main break on 122, and 23 people respond, thanks a lot, appreciate it, you saved me a lot of effort and time this morning, things of that nature.
As soon as we get the information out, or we have information that we have that should be shared, we should be able to get it out there pretty fast today. Between Twitter, Facebook, newsletter will give you the results of why we announced and who was affected by it. But I think it presents just another tool for us to work with and to stay in touch with the citizens.
Maybe we should have a public information officer too.
We're working on that.
Good.
Thank you.
We could do FaceTime. Peter,
Well, let's see, just the minutes now.
Snapchat.
Here, a snapshot here. There we go. Has everybody read the minutes for 12/23, 2013? Jeez, I knew that was going to come up. If there are no discussions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I move the board approve the 12/23/13 meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, folks, you're the only ones left. Got anything to say? Worcester Telegram, would you like to come up and say something?
Town manager, update?
Town manager update.
All right.
Town manager.
Sean, how about,
I've got a couple things. We've got a couple open positions in Town Hall, the morning clerk's assistant and the administrative assistant to the planning board, conservation, zoning, ZEBA. We're gonna be interviewing for those positions this week, so hopefully we'll have those holes filled within a week or two. Unfortunately, the hopes of an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Uxbridge and the town of Sutton for the services of a conservation agent fell through today. I spent most of Friday, half of Friday, I spent about six hours on Friday in Sutton with the town administrator in Sutton, and we interviewed a half a dozen candidates for the position. It was the town administrator and I, as well as the chair of the Conservation Commission in Sutton, and Mike Pataski, who's a member of our Conservation Commission here in Uxbridge. During those discussions and interviews, it sort of became clear that the Conservation Commissions from the two towns sort of do business a little bit differently and have really sort of different needs from a conservation agent. So, in speaking with Jim Smith from Sutton today, we decided that this may not be a good time for specifically Sutton to hire a conservation agent. So now I'm left in the position of having to still fill our position part-time. So I'm gonna contact the finalists and see if any of them are interested in part-time work. So hopefully it won't be delayed too much, but it looks like it might be delayed a little bit, so. Because most of the six people that we had in to speak all sort of sounded as though they were pretty geared up for full-time work. And the position here in Uxbridge is only 19 hours, so. What else? I've been in contact with all the unions except firefighters union, and when I expect to hear from them this week, so I'll be starting, I kinda mentioned this the last meeting, I'll be starting, in initial meetings to discuss the collective bargaining agreements, so if there's any interest in, on the part of the board and having any, on part of the individual members of the board and attending or having any sort of, in participating at all in any of these meetings, just let me know. And lastly, I guess I just want to remind the board, my own employment agreement expires on June 30th of this year. My last performance evaluation was in December of 2012, so we're like a month past a year.
yeah.
So I just want, again, just sort of a formal announcement to the board that this would be, a good time to maybe, if we can get through the evaluation process and enter into the discussions, or for the board to make a determination whether it wants to retain my services or go in a different direction. So,
As soon as we get the final evaluation, then I can put them together,
okay.
line them up, and we can start working toward the,
What's the status now?
right now, I'm waiting for one more evaluation, and that's Sean's evaluation.
Oh, his evaluation. Is he
Right.
out?
You need
So I'm-
mine to do your results?
Well, if,
I didn't know I was holding up the process, I apologize.
all right. Whenever you can this week, all right?
Absolutely.
Any members have any issues?
Just to follow up from our last meeting, I brought up the fact that the cable committee still has not produced any minutes. And Sean said he was gonna talk to them. I don't know why, because it's a board
Yeah, we should
appointment.
probably look at everybody's minutes. Like, I noticed a couple of times on the Board of Health, the agenda was under the agenda, and the agenda was under the minutes. So I was wondering where your minutes were.
We haven't had a meeting in a while.
The cable committee hasn't had a meeting in a while, and that same issue, actually, if you look online under cable minutes, it did meet in August, and the agenda is under both agenda and the minutes. So I've noticed a couple of issues, so I'm working with the clerk to try and get that
All
rectified.
right.
Did they have a meeting?
There was a meeting in August.
Was a meeting.
Yes, and
Okay.
supposedly minutes were submitted. I just need to track them down. They didn't end up making it onto the website, so that's what I'm still trying to work out.
Okay.
I'm trying to find them.
There was also discussion about the zoning bylaws. At first, Jen, you said that, what's his name?
Joe.
Joe was working on something. Then it came to pass that he wasn't doing anything. And then Tim was gonna do something.
No, I've been working with Joe on the ZBA, because he's on that board.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm working with him.
Okay,
Oh, so
All right.
you're-
all right, so how are we doing?
We're getting there. Takes
Okay.
time, Peter.
Yeah, I know that, but do you have something that,
No, not at this point, but if you want, I can accelerate things if you like. I can try
No,
to do
I'm not-
something for the next meeting.
the acceleration, it's just, it's easier if we look at incremental things as we're going, rather than at
All
one
right,
time.
then I'll have something ready for you at the next meeting.
Okay,
All right, it may not be complete, but I will get you some information as to where we're going.
okay.
All right?
And the charter, you want to do nothing about? I don't mean the
Oh, I'd
charter
like to,
committee,
but-
I'm talking about what?
We lost 3 times in a row. I don't think I'm gonna bring it up again. Just,
So you think it's okay to leave it as it is?
it's an adjustment, but yeah, I guess it's all right to leave it just the way that it is.
Okay, well, that's
It's-
fine, that's fine. Then,
I think you and I are antiquated and
Uh,
probably just having a little adjustment problems, but
Yeah, what's your feeling, Jen?
There were a few things that we probably should clean up on the charter. I think maybe we should have a working session to discuss. There was a couple small things.
Can you name,
One was, because it keeps coming up, is the CEO, who's the, chief executive
Okay.
officer. And Sean has mentioned that he's willing to accept our consultation with him on the budget, but in the future, presentation may not work as far as, but it seems that Sean's pretty open, that even though it says just presentation, that he's willing to work with us on that.
yeah, that's fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
but in the
fact
future, that
is,
may
the
be an
language is
issue.
the language,
Yeah, and that may be an issue in the future,
What are your thoughts, Lance?
On what? Charter?
the
Charter,
charter.
the town charter, not television.
Yeah, I say it the same way, I guess it's pronounced the same way. Charter. Charter.
There's 2 Rs.
Peter, I'd like to, I think if there's a problem with something that's gonna rear its head, and then it gets addressed, I'm one of those folks. When I hit my thumb, I put a Band-Aid on it. You had a great article you wrote an article to the, I'm skipping around a little bit, so I'm just going to what I'd like to change. I'd like to change the issue that you brought up here in the article of the zoning, of how the poles aren't permitted and underground. We should fix that. And I don't think would be very hard for us to fix it. It's blatantly wrong, and we should fix
That's
it.
not the charter, that's the zoning.
No, that's the zoning,
Yeah.
that's right, that's why I'm jumping around a little
Oh,
bit,
okay.
because that was on my mind.
Okay.
Things of that nature that you know of that are wrong, let's fix it.
Okay.
And what does it take to fix it?
How do
And
you propose to do that? 'Cause to
you
fix
could-
it, we need to come up with a town meeting article.
Okay, let's come up with
No
a,
other way.
all right.
For March, the warrant articles, the
Easy
warrant
enough,
opens.
so if you
You've been
wanted
doing this a
to-
lot longer than I have. You could probably have this ready for next week. I don't, it's obviously glaring. It makes us look a little silly, like you said, in the article. So let's fix it.
I don't remember the article, what are you reading?
Letter to the editor.
Letter to the editor
Oh,
in the
Uxbridge zoning bylaw, Appendix A,
okay.
Table of Use.
I'm sorry, I have it, yeah.
That is a little silly. We can't have poles in residence A and B and underground. I mean, we're breaking the rule every day.
Yes.
I mean, we fix them one at a time. Here's one that raised its head, we could fix it.
Well, if we fix things
no
one
sense
at
in
a
having the
time,
bylaws, is
it's
it?
gonna be 100
Right.
years before we get to the bottom.
Well, I'm sure you can pick off a lot of these.
But the question is the board willing to do it?
Sure,
Anyone can submit an article,
yeah,
but if the board submits it, then it's a board article.
okay.
So if you want to do that, someone has to say, gee, that's something we should do.
Well, I think we get the changes in front of us and discuss them, and then we can vote as to putting it on the warrant or whatever.
I suppose that's correct, that's how it's done.
Thank you. So maybe we could start working on it next week. Whatever information you have, Lance or Jennifer or yourself, bring it in, and I'll be in touch with Joe.
Okay, but that's the zoning.
I understand.
But Lance was talking first about the charter.
Right.
Then we skipped to zoning. So
Right.
what's your
Because-
feeling on the charter
Because,
itself?
I'm fine with the charter.
You're fine, okay,
I'm fine with the charter.
okay.
I'm sure you've got 30 reasons why I shouldn't
No,
be,
no, that's
but,
perfectly okay.
right.
But nobody's gonna listen to him anyways.
That's my opinion. No, no,
No, as long as everything's going all right,
well,
there'll
that's,
be no
that's,
complaint.
that's my issue. I know you break it down, Peter, the words, and you get real into it. I'm not saying it's running itself, but boy, when things come up, we seem to take care of them. I know you don't think we do anything. I'm just so happy about the salt and sand pile. When's that gonna be ready? No, really, seriously. We
Gonna start-
we
they're
did
gonna start.
something.
They're
Forget
gonna
the
start
salt.
working it on it tomorrow.
You can't have any salt, just sand.
Is he
No,
still
they
here?
changed that.
It's it's sand
No,
or
it's
sand and salt mix. Chances are you're gonna get a
Nice.
mix, because there's
Nice.
not a lot of just pure sand. We don't
So,
really use that anymore.
there's a
what the
touchdown
policy
for the
says.
good guys. We got something done.
If I may?
Right.
Before you adjourn? I forgot to mention something after you're done.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of snow and ice, as the finance director mentioned earlier, we're already close to exhausting our budgeted funds. There's already been 11 or 12, believe it or not, events where the
Outings.
DPW has had to, from December 1st until now. I spent a couple hours at DPW
Last week.
last week, I don't know what day it was, I guess it's irrelevant, last week. And I spent some time with the highway guys, and I walked around the entire facility, up, down, looked at all the equipment these guys are working with. I just want to remind people, and I put it on my Facebook page. I know you're not a big fan of social media, but I have found that to be sort of valuable in terms of, interacting with some folks. But one of the messages that I put out was for folks to be patient with the crews. It takes time for the pre-treat to work. We had an issue last week where they put the pre-treat down, and then it went down to 10 degrees, and of course, that pre-treat doesn't melt anything, right? But given the equipment that we've got and the number of folks that we have, the town employees on the town routes that the town employees do, I believe they're doing a great job. They work really hard, they work a lot of hours. There's been I've heard some sort of secondhand comments about folks believing that, my particular road is far down on the list of priorities of plowing. We have at least 22 private contractors in this town that provide plowing services. The 6 individuals that work in the highway department and the supplementary 4 or 5 or 6, or 4, I believe, from water and sewer, right, do not plow every mile of this town, right? We really rely, they couldn't. We really rely a lot on those contractors. So each one of those contractors has a route that is his or her responsibility, just that route. So there is no pecking order in town when it comes to plowing necessarily. Certain roads there are, but really, given the number of folks and the apparatus we have, the town vehicles are pretty much dedicated to the larger roads. All right, so I just want to remind people that it takes time. As snow is falling, right, so some folks want to plow out there when there's a ½ inch, and some folks say, wait until there's 5, all right? We're never gonna make everybody happy, but rest assured that we're being as economical as possible while trying to keep everyone as safe as possible. And there are no neighborhoods or streets or roads in this town that are deemed more important or less important than others. All right, everyone's street and everyone's safety is taken very, very seriously. So that being said, if you feel as though, if you have some issues with the snow and ice removal, I urge people to contact me, email me, and then the first thing I do is I speak to the DPW director and find out whether maybe there were some issues in that area, maybe there was a truck breakdown, maybe a contractor didn't show, whether there could be a multitude of problems. What we deal with those things, but everyone, first of all, needs to understand, A, we live in New England, right? Snow is a part of our lives in the wintertime. It is never going, in January, it's gonna take a few days for the roads to look like they do in July.
Really?
And when
That long?
we get 6 or 7 or 8 inches of snow, and I know you're chomping at the bit, it's 6 hours later and you wanna go shopping, or you wanna go to the gym, or you wanna go wherever you wanna go. Everybody needs to slow down and relax a little bit and realize the snow is not just gonna go away. It's not just gonna go away. So I appreciate the work that the DPW has done, as well as the fire and police departments, and all the encouragement that we get from the residents. So I know folks get a little stir crazy, you know, and they want to get up and go, but if everybody just kind of takes a deep breath during a snow event, before you know it, it'll be safe to get in your vehicles and go out and go where the heck you want to go. So thanks to Ben and his folks, Chief Laurie, Chief Kessler.
And when there's snow on the road, you don't necessarily can do 45 or 55 miles an hour. Slow down, take it easy.
Anyways, I just want to say that. Thank you.
All right.
Can I just flash back to your capital plan for 1 second? I read it, and you talk about changes that need to be made to the town hall and so forth. This is a very inefficient building, and we can't fix that.
Right.
There's nothing we can do about that. We don't need to be on a main street. We need to be in a location where people come to us. We don't need a high visibility office, you know, people fly by and say, gee, I'll go in and shop at the town hall for whatever I need. People come to us wherever we are, because they have to come to us if they want to do business with the town government. I think we need to start thinking in terms that maybe at some point in the not too distant future, it'll make sense to have a building that's more suitable to conducting municipal business in an efficient way.
That's an
Rather
interesting
than
discussion. My worry, David and I's worry is when we talk about this all the time, is what do we do with this building? If we were, let's just say we were to find a viable location, we were able to find the money and to build something, you know, a little more modern, less archaic or whatever, less historic, we're left with a structure here that is a historic building that we can't really sort of sell or tear down.
We can't tear it down, and we can't sell it.
Yeah, and we can
I mean,
expand the
everything's
fire
historic.
station.
I'm historic. You're historic. Not as historic as I am, but
I was just gonna say that, Pete.
you're
We're not gonna
historic.
sell it, I don't think we can tear it down, I don't think the municipality can tear it down.
Yes, you can.
I don't know, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Historical registry,
It is.
You can.
you have to jump through a lot of hoops and prove that it is unsafe to tear down a historical building that is listed on the registry.
I beg to differ. However, be that as it may,
In those without special permission,
Right.
you know?
That's, so I'm just saying, that
the
has been
cost of
entertained.
maintaining the building is extraordinary,
Yes, sir.
you know? And at some point, we really have to face that. So, not today or tomorrow, but we have to think in those terms.
I just
Any-
want to bring up one thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's it again. It's been like, Senator Moore has never come to talk to this current board, so, and it's been a while since State Rep Kuros has been here, so I'd like to set up some time in the future to see if Senator Moore would come in.
Excellent idea.
And, I mean, one of the things we should look at is like money. I mean, the towns are getting choked, and we should talk to them about, you know,
Yeah,
because Chief Laurie, I was talking to him one day, and he mentioned that they had their state rep and their state senator come in, and they found out about other sources of money that's, you know, and what our needs are. And we really should be talking to them more often about the needs of the town. I mean, I look at this, just this weekend, driving around town, I mean, looking at roads crumbling, and
The potholes are
the
awful.
potholes were,
North Main Street, terrible. The DPW fixed them all.
yesterday,
And
they
within the
came
day,
out.
they're there again.
Cold patch is
Yeah, you have to heat it. If you
yeah.
don't heat it, it's worthless.
Well, it
But
just
I
look-
agree
but I'm talking
completely.
about just like, I was on, okay, William Street
Yeah.
yesterday,
Yeah,
and the road is just crumbling.
Yeah.
I mean, there is, if the next time the plow goes by, it's probably gonna be right down to dirt. I mean, it's, and I'm sure that a lot of other back roads and stuff in town are the same way.
we can do that. The representative and the senator have always been responsive whenever they've been requested to come in front of us. They don't just drop in and say hello. They like to have some sort of an agenda or what they're gonna be discussing about, so they can bring information with them also. So anytime that the board wishes to arrange that meeting, as far as I'm concerned, go right ahead.
So would you handle that, Tracy, or? We can do what we did with, it would be nice to have them both at the same time, I think, but
Well, if you do that, why don't you have a meeting just for that purpose?
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
okay.
Just have a special,
All
like
right.
we did when Rep. Kuros came in, and we just had a separate meeting, special meeting.
Yeah.
Well, Senator Moore came in at the last board, but I think it was
Yeah, he was-
very close, and then Kevin,
They came separately because
yeah, it
of
was
the
like-
timing of
Right,
their
was the
schedules.
timing.
It was like
So-
March.
But, not to say that they weren't interested in coming. Okay, any further business? None? This meeting is adjourned at 7:40.